Oh my gosh, I am so excited. I have the honor to talk with you, Coach Dar. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Lisa, for having me on. It's been a bit. We've been trying to get this scheduled, so I'm so glad we have this time today.
Oh, I'm incredibly grateful. I know you're very active in the sports world. You're a high sought after leadership coach, mental edge coach. You help so many incredible people. It's like, wow, I'm talking with you. I just feel so honored. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Oh, well, gosh, what you're all about is awakening greatness in other people. And that is something I strive to do with the women I serve in the fertility space. And we're going to dive into so many things. You wrote an incredible book, The Art of Bouncing Back. And I have notes and I've read it. And we just share a lot in common with both being occupational therapists, both being authors, and have also a connection with our moms, who my mom also passed after the writing of my book. And it's just so touching, like we share that in common too.
Oftentimes you don't know grief until you go through it, especially with someone that close. So it's, I know how you understand how hard, and I understand how hard that is, but it's all part of why in bouncing back, everything. There's just going to be adversity. There's going to be trials, obviously from not being able to be pregnant to being able to go through challenges but then there's going to be great moments too in between.
I want you to share as much as you want to about your experience with fertility, but learning about you and this capacity you have, you've really stepped into using your gifts to help others in bouncing back. And can you share a little bit about your journey, kind of, being an occupational therapist, shifting into the work that you do as this kind of a motivational speaker, but more than that, you've helped so many incredible athletes and leaders around the world. Just a little bit about your journey to how you even got to where you are now.
Sure. So started in occupational therapy, which how that happened too is my grandfather had a stroke. So my grandfather had a stroke, and OT walks in, and my father at the time was like, you're going to have to figure out when you go to school what you want to do. And I'm like, I'm 16. And then an OT walks in, and she's working on specifically, obviously all the physical, but vision and cognition. And I'm like, what is this? Because I knew I wanted to help people. I just didn't know in what area. So I knew it was going to be something in healthcare. Although I have an entrepreneurial heart, I didn't know what that would turn into. So start out, go to OT school, and then come out. And then right when I came out, I took a job where I did one of my interns. So I specialized in neuro. So my unit was traumatic brain injury, stroke, spinal cord. So all of the neuro, which, for me, what happened was I fell in love right in college when I dissected the human body and then held the brain in my hand. I mean, on my desk, I literally have brain models everywhere. I have brain boosters. My whole thing is neuro, and it became my passion. Now, for everyone listening, I don't want this story to just be about my story. I want to always teach as I'm telling it. You often follow these little pings that are happening in your life, and they're taking you in a direction that you don't always know it's going to lead you to where you are today or where it's going to lead you. But what I'll say is there's pinging that's happening, meaning I fell in love with neuro. I fell in love with the human behavior in the brain. So I go on and I'm in the hospital and I'm loving it. And I'm growing in the hospital, and I marry my college sweetheart, and I'm an Italian from the East Coast. We should be having children like right away. So I'm excited. And also I came from a barber and a tool and die maker. So I'm in OT, I'm really growing in the hospital. And I say this because to me, I was starting the American dream. I really was. I was like, this is great. And then all the OTs and PTs and speech therapists and doctors, we were all young. So it was like Melrose Place. We were all living in the same area. Or Grey's Anatomy, whatever you want to call it. But it was so fun. And I just thought, like, gosh, this is so great in life.
Yeah.
We go to get the book, What to Expect When You're Expecting. We're going to start a family, and I'm so excited. And I lift a patient and I get sciatic pain. And I'm like, oh my gosh, PT can't get rid of it. Like, I can't get rid of it. So I go to a chiropractor. When I go to the chiropractor, I get adjusted. They adjust my neck and I leave, and my sciatic is gone. But then days later, all of a sudden I start to get these weird symptoms. I'm at work at the hospital, and that's when the floor flips upside down. The floor is the ceiling and the ceiling's the floor, and I can't see at all. But this is the crazy thing. Another teaching point. Do not self-diagnose yourself, but you also need to be an advocate.
Oh,
This
yeah.
is the moment in my story where I was not the advocate and I self-diagnosed, meaning I couldn't feel and I couldn't see. I couldn't see, so I had to feel my way down the stairs.
Yeah.
So by the time I got down, my vision was clear again. So I thought I had a sinus infection. And I went home thinking I was sick, and I take Sudafed. What had actually happened, because symptoms that ended up getting worse, is I ended up having a blood clot in my brain. I was bleeding in the brain. So when I went to the chiropractor and they manipulated my neck, they ripped the vertebral artery.
Oh my
So
gosh.
I didn't know I was bleeding, and they misdiagnosed it. They first told me it was a tumor where the blood clot was. And then the long and the short was, here's the advocate. I just knew something wasn't right, and I knew it wasn't a brain tumor, and I just kept getting masked with medicine to handle the symptoms. And I was actually going to work,
I
and I would all of a
cannot.
sudden have hemianopsia, where the left side of the paper would disappear,
Yeah.
or the patient's face, and I'm like, what is going on? Before I knew. So
Wow.
all to say, the doctor said, Dar, good news, bad news. He said, you have a blood clot, and we're going to leave it. And he said, and I hope and I believe scar tissue is going to develop around this. But here's the thing. Right now, you could die any day if this blood clot dislodges. It's just
How do you
risky.
react to that news when you hear that? And you're like 25, right? Weren't you 25?
25. And I'm like, no. My patients hear that. I don't hear that. Like, you're
Oh,
thinking,
yeah. Yeah. This doesn't happen to you.
no.
Just like with fertility, like, oh, this doesn't happen to people like me. Like, no, it happens. Everyone. Yeah. You don't think things are going to happen to you. Yeah.
No. And you're
Right.
like, no, I treat this.
Yeah.
And so, and I'll tell you, at the beginning, I did not, it wasn't like, I don't think I really accepted it. I was like, no, I'm going to do whatever I need to handle this. And we found out, I went to a high risk group, and that's when the doctor said, two doctors, and what the high risk group at Yale said, Dar, here's the thing. If you get pregnant, this blood clot could dislodge and you'll die. And he's like, so do you want to have a child without a mother?
Oh my God.
No, I don't, but
Oh,
I don't want
wow.
to make this decision either. And it was just, and as a woman, which this is part of it,
Yeah.
you just feel like, I couldn't provide. And in my culture as an Italian, food is love and family is love. So it was like, I can't actually really cook, which was terrible. I always played sports, so I never learned how to cook. So I'm a terrible Italian. So I was like, oh my gosh, I can't even cook. And I can't, start a family on my own. That's how I felt. And my ex-husband at the time, he didn't want to do surrogacy or adoption. So the whole thing was just, I just honestly went numb at that time in my life. I just went numb, and I threw myself back into work. And then I went back to school for business. And then at 28, I was running a healthcare company. So I just went full fledged, and that's went on. And, I ended up having multiple strokes after that. But
I mean, yeah, your story is pretty remarkable. And just to go back to the family part, a lot of women can relate hearing pressure from their family. Like, when are you going to have some children? When are you going to pop out a grandbaby? Or it's a common thing. And it really, people just need to mind their own business, really. I mean, it's like we're all on our personal paths. So
yeah.
Or
I've even had, we're friends who are just like, I just don't want children. And then there's people going, what's making them feel bad? They're like, I don't want to have a child right now. And it's, so it's this overall, it could be anything, but our opinions and views should never be forced on anyone else.
No.
We don't know what they're walking, and we don't know the story they're living. We don't know the challenges they're having.
Yeah. Well, the heart. And I love your quote in your book, the harder the adversities, the higher we can bounce back.
Yes.
You have so many amazing quotes in your book. I just love it. And so many women can relate to having setback after setback. And we rise higher. And you didn't go through one stroke. You went through two more strokes. I mean, what was it? 38?
Yeah. And then the last one was the third one was the worst. And that was, I think, 3 or 4 years ago. And I was traveling with the Phoenix Suns. My career was like at an all-time high at that point. And I just hit my stride. My mom had just had a stroke. Then I had a stroke. And that it took away my speech, my fine motor. And then it went from my stroke to then my mom passes the next year to then COVID hits to, you know, then 2021 happens. And then 2022, my father passes while I'm writing my book. And here we are in 23, but I am so happy because thankfully this has been honestly for most of my life. This has been the first year out of almost all the years of my life that really has been the best year of my life. And I haven't experienced, and it's not like I could say there's anything. I mean, I lost both my parents. So me saying this, I just mean there's a peace, there's an understanding. I'm very grateful to have written my book. I turned my pain to purpose. Yeah. I took the adversity and I helped it, let it advance me. So I'm saying this to everyone because I could tell you in the grief of all grief for me, I'm, losing my family and all of that. And going through such hardship that if you stay in the fight long enough, you will get to the other side. And for some people, it takes longer than others. I mean, I'm telling you, most of it's 25. I'm going to be 48 on Christmas. Mostly all these years have been pretty hard to some extent. Just the grind. So I just want people to hear this, to think sometimes it doesn't happen overnight, but it's not like all of it was bad. There's beautiful moments in between. They're just not long runs. So, I learned, like Navy SEAL training, you just get ready. And that's why I wrote the book, because what happens when you learn mental fitness, I'm so much better my third stroke than was I first stroke, because the mental fitness and tools, when you work on it and you work on the things that you need to gain this resiliency, your valleys are not so low. So it's not that it doesn't hurt. You just don't stay down as low. You don't go as low, which means your valleys are not as low each time. Look, now you're closer to the peak again.
Yeah, so beautiful. And I love how you talk about reframing these obstacles, because life is full of obstacles. I mean, if we're living fully, we're going to encounter some obstacles in life, right? And I can so relate. I mean, navigating through IVF and seeing my mom going downhill, like experiencing that together, the full circle of life was transformative. I know I can get through anything, really. Yeah.
I have chills as you're literally all over. You just said that. It's so hard, but beautiful in a weird way. Like to see both of my parents take their last breath. My mom for sure to the last breath. My dad, I went home and then he passed that night. But yeah, it just makes some of the things that are small issues that we normally would have gotten maybe excited about. I don't have the energy. I'm just like, I kind of look and I go, I'm not gonna spend my energy to get mad on something that maybe I used to get frustrated on. So you just live and you learn and you live like this. Let things come in and let them go out. Don't stay so tight to what you think has to happen. Have goals, have dreams, but be agile. I wrote about agility in the book. Staying agile also means learning how to reframe. So agility is emotional agility. When something's happening, you don't want to go too high or too low. You want to create a neutrality. You want to feel your emotion, but you don't want to let it take you out of the game of life. Okay. And then the other part is the reframe is when you go through something bad, it doesn't mean a bad day is a bad life, or a bad incident is going to be the bad rest of your life. Don't catastrophize it for the whole part of your life. It's only a season. Now, I don't know how long your season is, but it's a season. And just like everyone else, you'll get to the other side because you already have, and you will do it again.
So good. I'm just reflecting because I know, like, your why and who you are. And that is so key when you're going through life, through challenges, and so many women kind of, they let IVF maybe, or their fertility struggles, like run the show and define them, where I went about it very differently. And I just, maybe you can speak to that about making what we make meaning out of, and what is going to own us, what's going to define us, what's not going to define us. Right. It's so key.
So we all know about mission and why, and we've heard about it. And Simon Sinek, who I love, talks so much about your why. Here's what I want to say to this. Your why should not be attached to a specific role. It should be attached to a core value. So if it's attached to a role and it's to be a mom, if that doesn't happen, or when they grow up, or when things changed, your happiness will vary based on that. Now, I know that's hard. I would love to have a family, but I could not be defined by that one thing. And when you attach it to a value, meaning, do you want to be a person known as helping people stand in their purpose, helping people show up in love, helping people with their greatness? That's what I stand in. Helping people with integrity. I have so many inspiring, what's the other? Authenticity. I have so many clients I work with that we come up, what's your core value? Meaning, when your documentary is being played out, this is the anthem. This is who you are. It's the core values who you are. It's not the roles. The roles change over the years, but the core value of who you are and values are who you are. That's what the world remembers. So align with that, and then you could wake up with purpose. So as the roles change, you don't fall. You still rise up because you are aligned in your purpose.
So good. Oh my gosh. Well, you talk about being an optimizer, hanging around with optimizers in life. This is you. This is why I like feed off your energy and love, even though I don't know you like personally, but like what you bring and how you show up and how you lead. We need more people like you. It's just so inspiring. And the key things in your book, you talk about flow, resilience, and raising the bar, and flow too. I feel like I always like to think of our fertility path like a wave. Like how can we ride the wave and get into like more of it, more ease and have more fun on this path, like where it doesn't like throw you down and knock you over and you can't get back up. Like this is what it's about. Like living life fully and enjoying the journey on your path to motherhood. That's the message.
Surf the heck out of it. Just surf it. Get back. All the sand. Sand is going to be in every crack everywhere. When you're in the ocean, like those waves take you down and you're like, I remember being little and the East Coast swallowing salt waters and biting the dust, like eating the sand. My point being is you have to learn to ride the waves. And also remember this, flow is not forced. Flow is not forced. When you try to force it, you cannot ride the waves. But if you go with the wave, it's flow.
That's like manifestation too, right? Absolutely. We can't force it. We want to just like let our desires, if we're in the energy and the vibration, like let's not force anything.
Open up, open up, let it flow. People in your life, they're going to come and they're going to go. Let them flow. Situations, they're going to come and they're going to go. Let them flow. The expression, this too shall pass. I always say,
my mom said that all the time.
Yeah, it's true. It's like this too shall pass, hopefully sooner than later, but it'll pass. So I talk about the flow. I talk about the resiliency, building that grit, and, almost leading into the adversity. I tell people, go get in the cold plunge, do it, just force yourself.
I just did my first one like a week ago.
Good for you.
I loved it.
The more you do it, the more your brain goes, no, I don't love this, but I also know this isn't bad. This is going to help me. I'm going to be okay.
You know what helped me with that? And just because you'll get this with self-regulation, I was able to tap into my breathing pattern and really calm my nervous system right away. Like having those tools that you and I have learned in our OT training. It's like we were aware of, okay, what can I control? How can I, that's power. That's power right there.
In the moment. Breath is the greatest thing to bring us right into center. And then the other part that you mentioned was raise the bar. I just wanted to mention on this, raise the bar. And optimizing is my world. I'm not saying do more because I know people are exhausted, but what I am saying is get in a consistent routine of excellence, and what you do it well. Raise the bar is do what you do well. I mean, in the way you communicate to people and the way you show up. How's your energy presenting when you walk in the room? How is your space? Is it cluttered and chaotic? Is always messy, or are you leveling it up? Are the people around you, are they the people that you aspire to continue to want to be? Do they raise the bar for you, or are they lowering the bar? Because that's going to lower your performance and just your life. If you're around people that eat poorly all the time, you're going to be more apt to start to feed into those habits. If you're around people that never, ever exercise and you're around them all the time, you might take more days off. You're around people that want to optimize their relationships, their health, their brain, their personal development. You're going to just show up better. People know if they come here, I'm like, if you come to visit me, we're going to probably hike. We're going to cold plunge. We're going to do things. You're going to meet great people. Like, I surround myself with people that I have limited time. So the time that I get, I want it to be where the energy is good. The last thing I want to be around is an energy sucker and someone who is just negative all the time. I'd be like, I love you, but you're not my inner circle, because I'm going to die on the vine.
You're speaking so much to environment, which you write a lot about.
Yes.
And environment matters, who we're surrounding ourselves around, what we're consuming, what we're reading. And that's why, like, the content I strive to put out, it is more uplifting, inspiring, empowering. Like, there's enough of the like suck of IVF out there. And when I was messaging you about a year ago and like sharing, I was creating my podcast and you're like, yes, I love it. It's about soulful IVF. Yes, go with it. We need more of this in this space.
Yes.
So that is what I strive to do, is be like a brighter light in this space that is just not talked about, the joy in the journey. Like, there's living in possibility. That's what I'm about. You know?
Yeah. And you know what? Think about this. OT is all about possible. It's making the impossible possible. That was one of our taglines as occupational therapists. Right. AOTA, making the impossible possible. That's what we do. I mean, you literally are trained in that. So wow. I just like honor that, and I think that's the greatest thing I love about being an OT is a lot of people don't have awareness of this, but we were the original life coaches. It started in World War II. So we are trained. When people say like, oh, how'd you do this? I'm like, I got educated in this. I have a degree in this.
Yeah, and we are board certified.
Yeah, this is not a 10-day certificate that I just got online yesterday.
Weekend life coaching certification. Oh,
so all to say, we help make the impossible possible. But I want anyone listening to be inspired that, you know how you make the impossible possible? It's by not giving up. It's by shifting your mindset. It's by looking at things in a different way. It's by being consistent in the habits that you know are going to be healthy for you mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally. Because when you're going through hard times, I know you want to isolate and stay in a cocoon, but that is the very thing that will hurt you over time when you stay isolated in the cocoon, because you're not working on anything. There's no motion. So the negative talk comes in, the thoughts come in. That's the enemy wins. So stand up and like stand into this, because the more you do, the quicker you get through it.
The one thing that just came to mind when I hear the don't give up, and I know for some women in the fertility space, sometimes letting go of fertility treatments is important to do. Yeah. I'm curious, like your thoughts on like being open to different paths to parenthood. Maybe, it's about holding on to yourself first and foremost.
Yeah.
Like if it's taking over your life, maybe it is a shift is needed, right?
Well, if it's taking over your life and there is literally no more joy and every day is so hard, I'm going to say at that point it's forced and it's not flow. That's why we hear all the stories of people that when they finally stopped trying, they got pregnant. Or, you hear all these miracle stories, but so I just say there's a point where you say, did I try the things that I could? Have I, at my point, have I exhausted the things I feel comfortable with? Okay. At that point, you surrender. You surrender. That's one of the greatest words at some point. You say, you know what? I'm going to surrender to the process. And then, like me, there was a point where I had to say, I have to move forward from this. And the very thing I want as a family, it's not happening. So I have to go live life, because I believe, for me, I believe we all came for a purpose, and it's not to serve ourselves. And it's to get up and use our gift to help people. So if I sit there and I don't ever back up, I'm doing a disservice to the life that I have today. So it's my thank you back to go serve that. So I reframed it. And so if you're listening to this and you're like hitting the wall and you're miserable, surrender and then say, wait a minute, you have so many gifts and talents. If children is not a part of this path right now, what could be part of your path that will bring you purpose and joy? And lean into that. Because when you do, you will start to find joy, and then you never know. It might turn a different direction. It could be that you have children. It could be that you adopt children. It could be that you meet someone that has children. Or I look at it as I coach in pro sports. I feel like I have a lot of kids, a lot of them around the country. And, you know, honestly, more than my children, they feel like my nephews, honestly.
Yeah.
I feel like honestly, I feel like because I endured this, look at for me what God did, where I never sought to go into sports. I just took OT, made a private practice that helps mindset. Sports was one of the avenues before everyone talks about mindset now. They didn't when I started in the practice in 2008. And I just say this because look at all the young men that I get to help that are my nephew's ages, that would have been the ages of my children to some extent. So you see how it came full circle? Yeah. I didn't force it. I never forced any of this, but I get to actually touch many young lives.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah.
And I love how you say there's no failure, only feedback. And for so many who have an unsuccessful embryo transfer, it doesn't implant, or a cycle doesn't go the way they hope it goes. I hate that term, a failed cycle, like a failed, you know. And our words are powerful, right? It didn't work, and that's feedback for hopefully the next one, for a doctor to tweak something, or for maybe you to explore a different way of going about your path.
They should say, instead of failed, they should say, we didn't get a harvest season yet. They could say something like, you know, we haven't harvested yet. And be like, so we're going to either try again for the harvest, see what gets, you know, what grows from this. And if not, you know, we'll try again. But yes, honestly, everything is feedback. If you look at it, I really believe the only failure is when we stop living. We just stop living. That's failure. You've just stopped. So nothing can grow from that, but everything else is feedback. And so take it as feedback, learn from it, not to get too high or not to get too low. You feel it, but you don't let it overcome so that you've lost life, because there are people that are literally losing their life today and you still have the chance for it. So shift your perspective to see some sort of gratitude somewhere. I mean, my 99-year-old mentor who just passed this past year, she would get up and she's like, I have eyesight, I could walk, I could dress myself. And she'd say, as long as I still have my senses and my faculties, I'm doing good. And I'm thinking, at 99, I hope I have all my faculties.
Right. That reminds me of, I love to talk about a miracle mindset with my clients, and I write about that in my book. It's how you're talking about the gratitude and what lens are we looking through, right? And that is a choice. That is something within our control, within our power. And it drives me crazy when I hear people say, like, oh, there's nothing I can control. There's nothing I can do. There is. It's the energy we bring. It's the choices, the beliefs, the thoughts. That's within our power.
You have choice every day on what you want, how you want to show up. You have choice. You have all your choices lead to your tomorrow. So today's choices are tomorrow's results. So I think that you have a choice to also see a situation that is going to benefit you someday and help you go forward, or you could stay in the victim role and just let it hold you back. And then that becomes quicksand. Now, I want to preface this. I start the book with embrace the suck. I am not discounting the pain, and you have to feel the pain.
100%.
So I'm not saying like positive Pollyanna, any of this, but I'm saying after a point when you've endured, you felt the grief of this, you're in it, you have to say, now what am I going to do about it? Because no one's coming to save us. No one but ourselves.
Yeah, acceptance. I know you talk a lot about that, and that's almost step one. Is accepting. We had to accept we needed some support to like start our family with male factor challenges. I had polyps, and then setback after setback. It was like scar tissue. We'll throw in your doctor's going to leave the practice, and now you have fibroid surgery. It was like one thing after another with one frozen embryo, like holding on for us. So it was just like, how to stay in that optimal mindset. I get asked that question a lot. Like, how did you endure the waiting for a whole year with one embryo? And it's like having these tools that you write about that I so resonate with. It's like this building our capacity to handle when these hard things are thrown our way.
Yeah. It's just like going into the gym. The heavier you lift, the stronger your muscles, the more you could take. It's the same with mental fitness. The more you take on, the more you endure, it will help you in life. the greatest disservice we could do is to take adversity away from our children in the world.
I agree.
Whether they're ours or not, coaching, teaching, mentoring, any of it. Do not take adversity away from the youth or away from friends. Even if you're helping someone, even in your relationship, the adversity, all of it is going to advance you. It's going to help you. Even just think in marriages going through this, there is so much, it's so hard. But if you could communicate how you're feeling and work through it, then other situations in life, you're like, we got through that. We can get through this. It will make you stronger if you allow it.
Oh, I believe that. It's almost like, yeah, let kids struggle. Let them build that grit, that resilience muscle, right?
They won't be able to build it any other way.
These like kids are having it so easy these days. It's like they need to learn the hard, like
comfort crisis. It's called a comfort crisis.
It is.
Everything is, let's make it so comfortable. Let's make it easy. Are you crazy? Nothing in this world is easy. Easy hurts us. I mean, like easy is flatlining. Wow. You do not want, yes, of course you want some runway. You want moments, but you can't expect that all the time.
Yeah. We're not setting them up for a success if we're
no
path, right? Oh my gosh. Yeah. You say in the book, success isn't defined by how many times you tumble down, but by how many times you take a step forward after getting back up.
Yeah, absolutely. That's really where you see people's real character, because it's so easy to be happy pappy, stand in your world when everything's going great. Oh, this is what you do. But when you've been tested, you still do those things. That's where character is really tested. Leadership, life.
Yeah. I mean, people are probably surprised when they learn you had 3 strokes and like, how are you doing? Right? I mean, that has made you who you are, a part of you.
And really, by the 3rd stroke, I remember I had a migraine on Monday. Thursday night of that week, the pain was so bad. I mean, I just couldn't even sleep. I felt like I'm like, oh, something's off. But I had an important meeting and person I was coaching that I only see once a month. And it was that Friday. And I was like, I have to go see them. So I go see them and I walk out of the meeting, which thankfully I didn't get sick while I was talking to them. But I get out and I start staggering. So I make my way to the clinic that was close by. And they're like, Dar, we don't take your insurance, which that's for another conversation. Healthcare needs to change. But I said, well, the doctor came out and said, let me at least take your blood pressure. And then she goes to me, she's known me. She says, I think you're having another stroke. I go, I think so too. So she says, I'm going to call an ambulance. I said, don't call an ambulance. That's going to be the price of a country. I said, I'll Uber to the ER. She goes,
I read that in your book. You Uber yourself to the hospital with the note.
Yeah, I Ubered my way over. And when I got in, I have a nervous laugh. So I get in with the, first of all, for the people that didn't read the book, the Uber driver goes, I hope your friend's okay. I said, I'll tell her. So I walk in because you're almost like, I can't believe this is flipping happening again. And I could tell it was speeding up faster than the others. So I was like, whoa, this could be a bad one. And so I'm sitting there and I hand the note and I have a smile on my face, but they look alarmed and they're like, are you all right? I'm like, I don't think so. But I don't look like I'm not okay at that moment.
Yeah.
So I sat in the ER and I just remember going, I could die today. Or I could become so paralyzed I never ever speak again. Like, I don't know what's next. I just know it's not going to be great.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. It was definitely the hardest because I felt depression after that, because after stroke, you could get depressed. And I just didn't have the motivation that I had before. But that's where I wrote Why Power Over Willpower. I didn't have the motivation, but I had the why I was going to get up, do my rehab. I had to do it myself at home in Arizona in the summer, which is 120. So it's not like you could sit outside. But I just say that because if I did not have my why, I don't know that I could have got through that. So again, all of the training I did prepared me so that I didn't stay low long.
And didn't they warn you could have a 4th?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So do you have any residual effects of your strokes at all? Can I ask that?
Yeah. I mean, I for sure, I had more expressive aphasia when it first happened.
Okay.
I've definitely lost some focus. I've lost my communication people would never think is off, but I know when it's off. And I still have times where if I get tired, my balance goes off.
Oh, okay.
So I look like I might be drunk, like I stagger a little, and they're like, "Are you all right?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine." Just getting myself back. My fine motor, I drop stuff
Oh,
all
wow.
the time. I mean,
Really?
so much that I have like cream cabinets, and I dropped a jar of sauce not too long ago, and this has happened multiple times. And I had to leave to go coach, and I just looked there and I'm like, well, gonna have to do this another time. Like I dropped stuff so much that most people would be like, "Oh my gosh," and get fired up, but you're like, there's literally nothing I could do.
Would that
So
be
I
a
just
moment, a comma, not a period? Would that be one of those moments?
That's right. That's right. But you're just like,
Oh, wow.
yeah. So, I mean, I have nerve pains. I don't always feel great every day, and the world would not necessarily know that. But I watched my mom and deal almost 11 years of heart disease so bad she was in pain every day, but no one ever knew. And not that my point just is you learn how to compensate. You learn how to get up because there's nothing I can do. So I'm not focusing on that when it gets really bad. Some days when you're like, you realize, like today, I feel healthy. And just last week, I just happened to catch the flu. And I was like, whoa, I haven't had the flu in so long. But when you just don't feel good, it takes you out. And then you're like, wow, you can't really function when you don't feel well.
And your schedule is pretty intense. I mean, you're traveling all the time from what I
I
can
was giving a speech when the flu came on last week.
tell.
And I had to land the plane. All of a sudden, I'm sitting and I had to speak for 2 hours straight. So my schedule, I always have to be on. I get off the plane to a dinner, to a speech, to coaching. Like there's no data entry. There's no like I could do this from home. It's on 24/7. So I am speaking to the crowd. All of a sudden, I start breaking out in a sweat. And I start getting nauseous and I'm shaking and I'm like, what in the world? But I had to land the plane and I had 2 hours of speaking and I'm thinking, and I'm the keynote. So you can't leave. You're the keynote. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, and so as soon as I finished, I had to get on an airplane nauseous. Thankfully I had a mask. So I put my N95 mask on and I flew my way home. And then as soon as I got home, boy, oh boy, I was vomiting everything. I was like, thank God I made it home though. But my point was in a moment you could be off. So when you get those days you feel good, you're like, oh, thank you. I mean, we think about it, like our blood pressure to stay perfect, our temperature, our body fighting right now. So we could be with everyone sick around us. It's just, our bodies are amazing.
You're the embodiment of like bouncing back. Oh my gosh. I mean, your book is so good. I want everyone in the fertility space, all of my clients, I share this with them because these are key principles to help you navigate through anything, like different challenges, through anything. And
thank you.
I love it so much. I bought it right when you released it in February, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yep.
So how was that writing that book? Did you
enjoy
the experience? So hard.
Well, because they only gave me 4 months to write, which usually you get a year, which was probably better. But I would write and do work from like 12 a.m. to 4 a.m. because I had to work full time still. And you're coaching in sports, so games go at night. And I remember a player had broke his leg and he texted me and he said, asked me to come to the hospital. And my book was due that day. And I literally had to do, that was it. You're sending it in. And I'm like, I will be there. But I'm bringing my computer because my book is actually due like tonight. By the time they pick up in New York, they need this in. And my point was you just get it done. And I'm the type of person, it will never be because I didn't try or I didn't show up and I wish that's the level of excellence. I wish people would just have this mindset of, if you give your word, you stick to that commitment. But that's for another talk.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Is there a type of professional organization you love working with the most? If I can ask that question, like you have so many different kinds of athletes from, was it baseball, basketball, hockey, football,
Yep.
gymnastics? What do you
Soccer, gymnastics, golf. So the NHL, the MLB, all the major leagues.
Okay. Okay.
And everyone asked me this. I mean, I started out in the NBA, but I love all of the sports, and every league has its own culture. And to me, I love people. I love the diversity of all the people from overseas to here. And usually the people I get to work with are optimizers. So they want to excel. So I get so much enjoyment seeing them excel. And I don't have a favorite, because I'd be like,
that's a hard, I'm putting you on the spot.
Yeah. Yeah. But I love them. And I think a lot of times athletes don't even get enough respect. They are very smart, and they're getting smarter by the minute, and they work really hard. And most people would never make a day in their life of the grind. They would never make it a day. It is very hard. And I don't care how much money they get paid. It is still hard every day on your mind and your body to do what they do.
Wow.
And they bounce back, and they have injuries. And by the way, while they're playing, they could be going through infertility. They could be going through grief. They could be going through loss, and they don't get to sit down and say, I can't play this game tonight. They have to go through it with their struggles, just like we all have, and perform in front of the whole world that gets to tweet on them the next day, whether they like their performance or not knowing anything that they battled that night.
So true.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, for everyone listening, you have the ability to build this resiliency. That doesn't mean, again, don't feel it. It just means you are the best story in the making. You literally are. Greatness is upon you. And greatness is not just having a family. Greatness is how you show up in this world and how you inspires others to live.
Gosh, so good. I've loved talking with you so much. You're amazing.
Thanks for having me on.
Thank you so much. I will definitely include the links on how people can find you, follow you. And
yes,
you're amazing. Thank you so much.
Yes, follow on social. And I have a newsletter I put out every week, so people could follow there. So just stay connected.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.